For the next part, we're going to talk about the top and bottom left guides. Um, so I already sort of mentioned the grid snapped. You have orthogonal views. You have your planar selection there, your smart track, and your history. If you want to record things that you've done, you can always click history, and then as you're working, it'll sort of record that. And then you can go down to your command, this little hamburger or slice of these like 4 slices down here. It'll say show command history. You can click that and it'll show all the things that you've done. And that will always sort of keep track of things that you've done, so you can like retract your history. This is just like another sort of for sure way to keep that going. So for this top part, I would just say, again, keep the grid snap and the gumball selected. And then you also have this portion down here where you have end, near, point, midpoint, center, intersection, perpendicular, tangent, quadrant, knot, and vertex. And then you also have project and smart track. And then the disable all, so if I click that, it's going to turn all of them off. But you can always just come in here and click which ones that you need for certain things. So typically, I keep either near or end turned on, and I'll show you what those will do real quick. So if I'm creating curves with my polyline, let's just say if I create sort of a random triangle here, whenever you have that selected, whether you have any of this selected or not, it'll always snap to where you started and where you want to finish to create a closed circle. So if I select this, it gives me a closed circle, so all of it's highlighted. Or a closed curve, sorry. For an open curve, such as that, if I hit enter to end that, it'll still select it all, but I can't extrude anything from this because it's an open curve, as you can tell. So we'll remove that. Delete that and go back to this. So let's draw this triangle again. Okay, so now I have my closed curve. And now say if I want to draw onto that, maybe my curve polyline tool, you can see like my cursor's not quite near or quite selecting onto the polyline that I've already drawn, or the curve that I've already drawn. It's because I have this near selected, so if I took that off, you can see it's not snapping to that line. It's snapping to the grid again. But I do also have the end, so wherever I have 2 lines that meet, or the end of a line, or a curve, it'll always snap to that end, and it'll tell you end as well. So, and this goes for the same as center. So if I were to go to the center of that triangle, you know, right there is the center. So we can draw a line there. I also have the midpoint. So you can see it says midpoint. Now I can select there as well. And let's just sort of draw another midpoint there. And then I'll hit enter. So here's an interesting shape. Now we have an open curve with a closed curve, and then part of it that's intersecting. So what I can do now, if I wanted to get rid of this line, all I have to do is select this, or select my trim tool. It'll say select objects to trim. Your cutting object, which I want this to cut because that's the thing that's intersecting. And I'll hit done. Now it'll say select objects to trim, and I want to trim that, and it'll just get rid of that little piece there. So now I have this, and now I want to join these two, but I can't join. If I were to select both of them and then select join, it's not going to really run the command because you can't join an open curve with a closed curve. So I'm going to click cancel. I'm going to run the trim tool again, except this time I'm going to select my sort of semicircle thing here, and that's going to be my cutting object, and the program's going to know that these are somewhat intersecting because I have apparent intersections sort of selected there. Hit done, and now it'll ask me what do I want to trim off. I'm going to trim off that part. So now I have a little fish of some sort, I guess. Now I can select them, and then since they're still touching and creating sort of a closed curve, I can go to the join tool, and then you can see down here in the command it says joining curves, 2 curves joined into 1 closed curve. So now when I select it, they are 1 closed curve. So that's just like a pretty brief or straightforward example of like how to use this stuff in conjunction with your tools, and hopefully that helps.